Hello, I wanted to do a short video to parents based on an assembly that I showed to Year 11, just to kind of keep you in the loop and also to see if we can work together as a team to try and support them through this difficult time. So we talked a little bit about the ladder of success as an opener, and I think one thing about ladders is that the rungs are even. And this can lead pupils into a false sense of security when it comes to grade boundaries. The ladder itself actually looks something a little bit like this. And I think parents are all aware now that grades go from 9 to 1, but what you might not be aware is that approximately 60% of students get grades from 9 to 4. And if you look at the gap between the grade boundaries for 3, 2 and 1, and of course ungraded at the bottom, they are quite wide, and that means that there's a significant number of children all aiming to get into these narrow band ranges. And the most obvious conclusion you can draw with that is that it's a very competitive thing to do. So some of the students mistakenly believe that they only need 2 GCSEs. I'm afraid that's not true. So I've got a little graph here, but I mean essentially what it shows you is that most students in the country took around 8 GCSEs. The reason why they've taken less might be because they might be in a pupil referral unit, they might be have some medical needs, or they might be in an adapted school like an SEN placement. Some students do 12 plus, but the majority of students just take 8 GCSEs, and that's what your child will be able to do in this school. So we talked about some myths, and this was just really explaining to them that you do need the GCSEs in a broad range if you want to go on and study. Certainly some of the colleges now are not supporting students doing their retake, and the reason for that is that 1 in 5 students are currently taught by a non-specialist maths teacher. I'm pleased to say that's not the case in our school at the moment, but certainly maths teachers are challenging to recruit, as well as English teachers, and you may find some colleges are kind of dropping that off or expecting parents to pick up with tuition and only offering a resit kind of slot for them. So it's just something to be aware of. Is it fair? Probably not. Is it reflective of the market? Sadly it is. So how can you help? You may be aware that your child's got access to GCSE Pod, but you may not have actually looked at it. There's a whole section on there for parents, and if your child lets you log in, then you can have a little look round. A lot of them are webinar based, some of them have got something like I've shown on the slide here, but they're certainly useful. You can also see the kind of activities GCSE Pod offers for your child, and certainly we use it quite a lot in core subjects, particularly English and history. It's very supportive for that particular platform. So what should students be doing at home? Again, lots of myths around what is the most effective revision, but as I explained to the students, the only things that have been proved to work effectively are these 2 things. So regular activities to help them basically recall the knowledge. Most of the GCSE exams now are knowledge heavy, and in order to learn that knowledge they will need to revisit it often. So we've put in place for them all of these different apps because we know they are a digital generation, but they're only helpful if they're using them every day. So please, can I ask you to make sure that you've put up a schedule. It could be 10 minutes a day on the car on the way to visit a relative. It could be 10 minutes before they go out and play football, 20 minutes before they go to the gym. They can slot these things in, but they will need you to remind them so it becomes a habit rather than a chore. The teachers can monitor who's completing these, so if you suspect that your child isn't doing enough, please email their teacher and they'll let you know exactly how much they've been doing. The other thing that really helps is doing a past paper in each of their subjects. So it could be a question that they're actually answering, or it could be, as we get closer to the exam, doing a complete paper within the time frame. Students find it quite difficult to manage their time because the way that the world operates now is that you can just give somebody a message if you're going to be 10 minutes late. That doesn't work in an exam scenario, so they need to make sure that they can complete the paper within the time frame, and the only way to do that is to practice. There's lots of videos on YouTube that have been recorded by teachers about how to do that. Some of our teachers have recorded videos and they've shared them with students, but the reality is we can do all of that, but unless they actually try doing the questions themselves, they're going to struggle. So there's two types. Type 1 is open book practice. So you get the question out, you look at it, you look at your textbooks, your notes, and then you think, right, okay, I need to answer this question. How can I do that? The second type, and most important, is a closed book, because that relies on what you know and it needs to be completed to time. And that draws very much on the first set of activities, which is the memorise and recall section. Whilst they're doing this, no phone or music on. It's shown to drop performance by up to 20%, and the reality is there will be no music in the exam hall, so you might as well prepare in the conditions that you are used to, so it doesn't spook you in any way when you come to do it in the actual exam itself. 10 most common mistakes students made. Again, we talked about some of those. Please just watch out for these. They're skipping breakfast. I said to them, breakfast can be anything that you want it to be, as long as you've eaten something. You know, for some it might be a banana, for some it might be toast, for some it might be cereal, but you can have whatever you want for breakfast, because lots of countries in the world don't eat cereal for breakfast or toast. So it is important that they eat, because otherwise they're coming into school and they're not fueled up. We do a breakfast in the morning for £1, which is a cooked breakfast, and they can get 3 items and a slice of toast. So that's really, really good value. And I've worked hard with the catering company to put that in place. Hot chocolate is available, shocker pans are available. There's a lot of different things that they can access with that if you're concerned that you've gone off to work and they haven't, or they're not eating when you expect them to do. Just watch out for this one, sitting there with a book open. I used to do this with my parents. It made me look busy. It was absolutely no good whatsoever. Again, revising to music, we've talked about mobile phones, we've talked about taking notes verbatim in class. No need for that. Most of the things that you need to look at are summaries from it. Cramming your revision. Again, you may have done this when you sat your exams. It doesn't work. So the only things that do work are the things that I've talked you through. Not getting enough sleep. Please be mindful of the fact that if your child's been on their Xbox yelling at somebody on the other side of the continent about a game, how do they power down from that? How does their brain basically reset itself so they're getting a good quality sleep? I'm sure they'll come up with lots and lots of reasons why they'll be fine, but the reality is they won't. So we do need to check with them. Leaving the hard tasks to the end. Again, we all do this, but they need to work on the things they find most difficult in order to make their revision more effectively. Then they'll start to see some practice, some progress for that. What to do after a bad exam. Your students or your children will be looking at their Year 11 PPE results. Some of them are really good and they show that the students have made a real effort. I can see immediately from looking at it who's done no revision, and I'm sure as parents you need to be on that now. So don't let them make excuses, don't let them dwell on it. If they're generally feeling a bit anxious, I will direct you to COOTH. That is the first step, tier 1 mental health provision that we can offer to any child in school. So we've put out plenty of information for parents on that, and the students are aware of it. So if you think that's going to benefit your child, by all means get them to do it. We've also launched an app which is called Ask Ola, and that's an easy way to access COOTH. If they're stuck with any of their core subject homework or any of the questions that they're trying to do, they can go on to Ask Ola, and that's staffed by qualified teachers. So they will be able to use a chat bot to basically ask their question. They will ask them how they are, how they're feeling, and if they've got any concerns about their well-being, they will signpost them onto Cooth or some relaxation activities. So again, that's a really good support for you as parents, but it's only useful if your child's engaging with it. I popped this in because this is the Parents Guide too. Again, this contains, it's a website, it's got lots of things in there to try and support parents in their drive to wrap around care for their loved one during these GCSEs. This is their 25 daily tasks to improve well-being. So again, there's some things here that you might want to talk through with your child. I like the day 15, have a night off from using social media. I'd put that in the calendar every other day if I could, but I realise I'm not a young person anymore, so maybe they would feel slightly differently about that challenge. Okay, attendance. You've probably heard in the news that basically there is a concern nationally about students' attendance, and the reason for that is because, well, it's twofold really. One is that if children aren't attending school regularly, then there could be good safeguarding reasons why that's not the case. And the other thing is that basically every piece of research shows that children that are in school do better in school in their end of year exams. So clearly, as a school, we will want to make sure that your child is in as often as they can be. So it's really important that you support us with this. We don't have an argument about it. The fact is the fact. But you can see from this graph basically that a lot of learning time can be lost very, very easily. So this is the research of things. 17 days of absence in all of the students' GCSE grades dropping by 1 grade. So I'm back to that ladder again, and I'm making it more difficult for children to climb that ladder and be successful if they're not in school. So you can understand why we are actually making calls home and talking to you about getting your child in regularly. How does it make a difference in their future? Well, again, this is slightly out of date now, but I think you can see the pattern that the more basically levels of education that the children have got, essentially it opens up more doors for them as they go through. Yes, there are exceptions to the rule. Richard Branson would be one. Jeremy Clarkson always says at the end of A-level results that he failed his A-levels, but what he doesn't tell people is that he went to a private school and had a very good education. So I'm a little bit suspect when it comes to that, but essentially, you know, the longer you stay in education, the more likely you are to earn a higher wage per hour and have more choices. So, you know, that's a reality. So, attendance matters. I need you to support me to get your child in school. As I said, any early signs of anxiety, make sure you're talking to them, telling them that, you know, you want them to be successful, and share with them some of the information you're now party to. Direct them to Cooth, use OLAR to try and help you with that. Because again, that's another third party of somebody that can have a conversation, albeit online, with your child, and make sure that they're doing little and often, because they will see the difference, maybe not in week 1, but they will see the difference by week 4 or 5 when they're sitting in classes thinking, oh, I know that. And that surely has got to be the way to deal with anxiety and try and boost confidence of any student as they go through this. So in reality, I did say to them that they matter, and they do matter to me. I want all of my students in the year group to be successful, but they matter most to you. They are your students, your children, and together this really is about seeing whether or not we can support each other to get them where they need to be. Thank you for listening. I appreciate the time that you've taken to view through this, and please do explore some of the resources and have a conversation with your child. Thanks very much.